What's going on? Welcome back to 92.3 Preps, here a production of ESPN Wichita. I am your host, Jackson Schneider, as always, and this is episode 14. We are ever closer to fall sports. Some sports here in the state of Kansas underway tomorrow morning. Volleyball will be starting their competitions, and soccer over the next few days. Football officially begins on Thursday of next week. We will have our first game coverage on Friday night. So we are a week out. I can't wait. I'm super excited. And we've got some great stuff on this week's show. Next week on ESPN Wichita, we have our first game of the week of 2026. And our matchup is a huge one. Two of the best teams in the City League squaring off. Two teams separated by about a mile as the crow flies, as Wichita Northwest is going to take on the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles. And so I thought, what better way to get you ready for that matchup than to talk to both of those teams and coaches. And so today we're going to visit with the head football coach of the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles in Chris Jaax. We're also going to go out to practice with the Wichita Northwest Grizzlies. We'll talk to Steve Martin, as well as two of his athletes, senior offensive lineman Maddox McGinnis and sophomore running back in Zyair Burton. So we'll talk to each of them out at practice. I had a ton of fun with that in an early morning on Monday. And man, really made me excited to get out there and to see some high school football. As I heard the pads popping, they were having fun, and it just made me that much more excited. But as I mentioned, volleyball is getting underway this weekend. And so I wanted to talk to one of the coaches of a very successful volleyball program here locally, and that is the Andale Indians, the reigning state champions for the girls 4A ranks, and they were absolutely stellar in last season's run. They only lost one match, and so I wanted to talk to Coach Johnson about their team and how you build off of a season like that, where again, you go like 30-1 and you win a state championship and you play so well, but then obviously you lose some players, some key players, this player of the year in the state. How does a team progress from that? What are they looking like right now? And you're going to be very pleased to hear some of his responses in a lot of things, especially as it relates to where his team is at right now, the group that he's got, the seniors that he does return, and it is just a great conversation with Coach Scott Johnson of Andale. So some really, really good interviews from him, and obviously, of course, our football interviews as well are super exciting. So much fun stuff to discuss, but I don't want to waste too much time today because, again, it's a lot to get to, but I do want to remind you that our show is brought to you by some great people. Wichita Federal Credit Union, of course, has hopped on as a big-time supporter of this show. So whether you're saving for the future or buying your first car or looking for financial solutions that may fit your life, Wichita Federal Credit Union is here to help. You can learn more about becoming a member and the communities that they serve, even all of their offerings that they have for you. You can go to wichitafcu.com and learn more. I highly recommend that you check them out. Also, our great friends at Advanced Orthopedic Associates and AOA Now, as they've been on with us for several weeks now, and we truly appreciate it. And I need you to know that when an injury happens, you don't always need the emergency room. AOA Now provides convenient, immediate care for sprains, strains, fractures, other sudden orthopedic injuries, and they give you same-day access to an orthopedic specialist. They have two locations, one on the east side, one on the west side, and both locations are open 5 days a week, and the east side location is open 7 days a week as well. So you can check them out, learn more about what you can do with them, what they can do to help you at AOAnow.com. You can book your appointment if you want to make one. You can look into all those services, again, at AOAnow.com. But again, big thanks to Wichita Federal Credit Union and AOA Now, Advanced Orthopedic Associates, for their sponsorship of our show. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're heading out to practice with the Northwest Grizzlies, talking to Steve Martin and 2 Grizzly athletes.
I'm always telling him to shake it off, but sometimes we need professional care. Ow! Ow! Thankfully, I know just the place.
AOA Now is your premier orthopedic immediate care for when you need it most. Our expert team specializes in breaks, sprains, and strains. With our new state-of-the-art facility, we'll have you back in action in no time. Visit AOA Now on web and K96 today for fast, specialized orthopedic care where we keep Kansas in motion.
Out at Wichita Northwest High School, practice on a early Monday morning with Coach Steve Martin. Coach, game week is quickly approaching. You've got a full week of practice under your belt already, still a little time, but how much progress has this group made in a short amount of time?
Well, we had a good summer. We thought our numbers were great, and, we were consistently hitting our numbers. We had a lot of guys hit our 90% mark in the summer attendance. So, we kind of picked that up. It's funny, occasionally we talk about acclimation, but we go to the middle of July and then they shut us down for a whole month, So last week, it took us a while to get back gearing from where we left off at the end of July. And these guys responded. We had a great scrimmage Saturday, very competitive, one of our most competitive scrimmages, inter-squad scrimmages. Usually an offense or a defense dominates that side of the ball, but it was a good thing. We got a lot of good reps in. We took about 140 snaps, and so we got a lot of film to be able to correct some things. But I like where we're at right now.
Now, with this group, trying to continue building this program, it's been one of the more consistent programs in Kansas for a decade now. Yeah. How do you go about establishing that type of culture of success over the course of several years, and especially when you start a new year with essentially a new group?
For me, it's building relationships with our guys. My goal is that we can me or somebody on my coaching staff can make a positive impact on one of these kids, that they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. That's what I had mentored with, playing for out at Andale with Matt McKee, and Kevin Bruce was our defensive coordinator. Those guys were very good role models for me, even though I had a mom and dad at home. They were awesome. I had a whole bunch of older siblings, but just to be, life lessons but our staff does a good job of really getting to know our kids. And when you build that confidence in kids and they trust you, I think they'll run through walls for you. And so, that's the culture that we've built here. It's a brotherhood. It's a family. We've had a lot of incoming freshmen that every year they say that the parents are like, Coach, your kids are so welcoming. Well, that didn't start from nowhere. We intentionally do that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the key returners that you've brought back and how they've maybe stepped up as leaders or as into bigger roles on the field as you start this season?
Yeah, it all starts, for us on the offensive defensive lines. And, of course, Maddox McGinnis is going to be a 4-year starter for us. Brock, my son, will be a 3-year starter. Those two have been playing together since second grade, right next to each other. So there's that continuity. And then we bring Justin Roberts back. He'll be a 3-year starter. And so we have that cog of those 3 guys working together that really it starts up front. But, we bring back Zyair, Burton, who had a lot of quality reps last year. He didn't have to be the guy with Augie being there. But, he's done a good job of in and out of the backfield, bringing in some new backs. Marcus Yarbrough has showed absolutely amazing leadership coming in. Henry Robinson. Those guys have done a good job. We have a very talented freshman running back that those guys have kind of taken under the wings as a little brother and are bringing them along. But, Brock and Maddox have done a good job in the building and out of the building leading. On the defensive side, a guy that most people don't unherald is Jason Bennett Jr. We call him JR. JR, we talked to him in the offseason. We put certain goals for him. We needed him to trim down a little bit so he could get faster. And, he looks the best he's ever looked before in his life. And he's flying around, and that showed on film on Saturday.
With that key returning core and some of those pieces, you also mentioned some younger guys. How do you go about kind of that special mix of the key veterans, but also the younger talent, and mixing them in and making sure they're ready for Friday Night Lights? Well,
here in Wichita, we don't essentially have like a junior high feeder system or anything like that. So, in the past, in other programs that I was a part of, what happens when an incoming freshman comes in, usually the head coach of the high school gets 3 guys and they says, hey, take the freshman over on the grass field and you guys have practice. We integrate them from day one camp. Our first vet camp in May, our freshmen are with us, because I believe that every kid's at a different level. So we play C team, JV, and freshman. And, if you're a kid that's just coming out for football, we start you at this level. If you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're excelling, Zyair Burton started after the first week at camp last week. Zyair was with the varsity the second week. So that way every coach has their hands on them. We try to evaluate these guys now so we can get them in the right spots, but also push our program forward. And the competition is amazing, because now you got young guys who want to come compete. And so older guys are pushed by young guys, and it just manufactures that way.
Well, still, you've got this week, and then next week is game week. So some time, but it's going to be here quickly.
11 days. That's what the board says in the locker room.
And on top of that, you have maybe one of the more challenging starts to the season of any team here locally.
Yep.
How do you and your team embrace that challenge of taking on two really talented teams in the first 2 weeks? And then,
and 11 days is far away. So, my talk today after we left practice is we focus on winning that next rep. We're going to lift weights after school today. Win your squat reps, win your auxiliary rounds. Let's make sure that we're winning and focus on what we can control. We can't control what happens in 2 weeks down the road. We can't happen when Capen and those guys in Junction City come to town. We can't control any of that. But what we can control is our effort every day, that next play mentality. And I like our chances. It's a fun group. I'm having fun. This is my 23rd year of coaching, and I got a lot of years left. There's been at times where, some groups are a little bit more harder to contain and stuff like that, to where you're thinking about, is this time? And, these guys this off season, I'm rejuvenated, and these guys have brought me back to life, and we're having fun right now. It's a good time.
Awesome, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Yeah,
Best of luck this year.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Visiting now with Maddox McGinnis, senior offensive line for the Northwest Grizzlies. Another early morning for you guys. Seems like that doesn't bother you at all. You're ready to go.
No, sir. You'd rather get out here and get the work in early and be able to go home and get a good night's rest after school. So having these guys coming out here and bringing the energy so early in the morning, it really gets you up, and you're not the only one out here.
And with that, some kids, myself, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an old man now, essentially, but early mornings are hard. How do you make sure you're up and you're focused and you're ready to go?
I think it's more of a mental thing, knowing that we got 11 days till we go down the street and we got to win that football game, and knowing that having all of our team out here on time, that's a big thing. Those little things really show up in the games, the things that you don't think really matter. So really getting that into the guys' brains, that little things matter, and that really will help us on Friday nights.
Being a key part of the offensive line, that's maybe the most essential part of any football team.
Yes, sir.
How much do you enjoy being a part of that O-line? And tell us then a little bit about this group.
I love O-line. It's my life. I think it just fits me. You get to go out there and you get to be physical. You got to be nasty. Nobody's going to like you out there, but that's whatever. And I think our O-line group right now is really connected. We got me, Brock, and Justin out there, and then we got two good senior tackles who have been working these past 3 years to get to this spot. So they got that fire under them that's really going to make them go. And even then, we got some young guys who we expect to step up, and we know that they can if the moment comes.
Well, then being on the O-line, you get a good taste of the defense pretty often too. What excites you about the defense? What makes them difficult to go up against in practice?
We got guys like Dallas Gray out there who are going to fly around and hit you. You don't even see it coming. They're just there out of nowhere. They're a real elusive defense. They can stop. They're going to be physical. And even the pass game, they can break that up too. I know our secondary is going to stop that every time. So just knowing that we got a defense that you can trust to go out there and do their job when sometimes offense might be slow or something. You got to have the defense to go out there and pick you up. It's good knowing that they can go do that.
Tell me a little bit about the rest of the offense, the playmakers that you've seen. You're opening up holes and making sure things are taken care of, but they've got the ball in their hands. What excites you about the guys around you?
We got guys all over who superstars. We got guys who can get the ball every play. Coach Martin has said it. We got all these guys, might not have enough ball to get it to everybody, but you know that every position we have out there, we got a guy who can go handle business and who's gonna do their job and go get in the end zone.
So this is your senior year.
Yes,
obviously, that's special for everybody. You get to that point, but you spend your whole life working to get to your senior year. You want to make it special. How do you make the most out of your senior season?
I think really just taking in the moments. Being out here with my guys, I'm graduating early, so knowing that as soon as the season's done, it's kind of over. In the moment, freshman year, it felt really slow, but now you get here and it's really crazy that it's already here and that this is going to be your last time playing with your guys.
Well, with that mindset, then, how do you make the most of every moment, every practice? What do you take time to appreciate while you're working hard? Waking up early, you're tired, especially, working through, the hot summers and all these things. What do you get to appreciate in those moments?
I think one thing with our team is being out here is cool and all, but our team really builds relationships outside. So being able to have fun with my guys on the field and then go out after practice, and those guys have turned into my best friends, and they're who I'm with every day. So surrounding myself with them really makes me appreciate like the last moments I have.
All right. And then, talking about the challenges of your schedule, you play good teams every year, but those Capons and Carrolls that are early in the season, I know you guys are excited to play those two teams anytime. What's it like to have those two first teams right away? Like, you have to be sharp from the jump. So how do you make sure you're ready to go?
I think really just coming out here and having discipline on our mind more than some of the stuff. We got to just come out here and be disciplined during practice, and that's going to transfer over to the games. 11 days, we got it counting down in the locker room. Everybody here is excited. We know we're going to go down the street and we got to play them. And knowing that we got those first 3 weeks, but they still got to come play us too. So that's just one thing.
All right. After this, you're going to school and getting ready for the day, right? So
yes, sir.
What's the first class you got, and how do you attack that in maybe a different way than you might attack your practice?
Psychology. I got psychology first hour of the day today, but you just got to really put a smile on your face, and after you shower and stuff, get changed, you got to go out there and just act like you didn't practice. Like, you got to show up and give energy and be like, you got to interact in the classroom, because these teachers, they want to see the athletes who are going to be nice and be like good kids in school too.
Awesome. Well, Maddox, best of luck this year. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Visiting now with Wichita Northwest athlete Zyair Burton. Early morning practice. You told me you'd rather get home and get to sleep at night, so you'd get up early.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel like your team embraces these early morning practices, out here before the sun comes up?
Just bringing the energy every day, just having discipline and just trusting each other with all the, we just got to trust each other, wake up and hold each other accountable for our actions.
Is it easy to, be here and focus earlier when you're around a good group of guys, everyone holding each other accountable, making sure you're doing the right things on the practice field?
Yes, sir, 100%.
Tell me a little bit about this group. What excites you the most about your team this year?
I'll probably say our discipline and our mentality of how we want to come out this first game and just lay the wood.
Well, you guys had a scrimmage on Saturday,
yes,
so
sir.
Not a real game, but you get a little game feel. How much more excited are you for week one now that you've started to get some pads popping a little bit?
100%. It made me 10 times more comfortable getting the pads on and scrimmaging and make everybody ready.
Who's maybe a player this year that not many people know about on this team that they're going to know about here very soon?
Henry Robinson, for sure, 100%.
What makes him special? What have you seen?
The speed, his cuts, basically everything. He can catch as a running back. Yeah, he's gonna be very nice.
I got here at the end of practice, and Coach Martin was giving some very passionate words about you guys, making sure you're winning the day, winning your reps in the weight room, all those things. What's it like to play for a guy that's got a little fire to him, and he makes sure that you guys are motivated and staying focused?
It means a lot. It just motivates the team, motivates us, and pushes us to be better.
Where would you say you've improved the most this year, Zyair?
Improved the most. I'll probably say getting the play calls down and being more elusive with the play calling and getting it down and hustling to the ball.
Okay. And I asked Coach Martin about this too. You guys play one of the more challenging schedules in the area, especially right out the gates. You get Carroll, you get Capon, you get Junction City, all back to back to back. How excited are you for those challenges?
The competition. I love the competition. Just knowing that you're going out to play with your brothers and fight, and this is the seniors' last time, it just lights something inside you and makes you want to ball and help the boys.
And how has last year helped motivate you for now? This group has been a very consistent winning program for a long time, but you want to get
a little further. You want to win a state championship. How have you been motivated to work harder to get to that point?
I've been motivated. I'll probably say the trust and just holding each other accountable for their actions and just pushing each other and holding each other up.
Awesome. Appreciate the time. Good luck today in school. Get some sleep, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm always telling him to shake it off, but sometimes we need professional care. Ow! Ow! Thankfully, I know just the place.
AOA Now is your premier orthopedic immediate care for when you need it most. Our expert team specializes in breaks, sprains, and strains. With our new state-of-the-art facility, we'll have you back in action in no time. Visit AOA Now on web and K96 today for fast, specialized orthopedic care where we keep Kansas in motion.
Welcome back to 92.3 Preps, production of ESPN Wichita. Jackson Schneider here, pleased to be joined by the head volleyball coach of the Andale Indians, Mr. Scott Johnson, as we continue previewing the fall season. We've talked a lot of football lately, but Coach Johnson, you are our first volleyball guest. So first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us. But how have things been going over there in Andale?
It's been going good. We got high expectations for this season. We've been hitting the summer hard. We have our first jamboree tomorrow before the season kicks off on Saturday. So that should be a good opportunity to kind of knock some of that rust off. It's been, 10 months or so since we've played an actual game. So, yeah, we're anxious. We're excited.
Absolutely. And for a team that won a state championship last year, I'm sure the high expectations is not something that is new to your program, maybe something they've kind of had to experience before, but obviously you don't want to take a step back. You want to continue to elevate your program. How have you attacked the summer and the kind of the off season to make sure this group is ready to go once things do get going this weekend?
We've been doing skills work since the beginning of June, and we've taken every opportunity to get as many touches on the ball as we've been able to. We've done a few scrimmages, but we actually haven't done, I'd say, quite as many as we've done in years past. But we've really focused on kind of the skill work side of things. We have a lot of seniors coming back this year. They've been in the program a while. They understand, our blocking scheme. They understand the defenses that we run and the strategy behind what we're trying to do. So now it's just kind of polishing the little things. So it's been good.
Well, tell us a little bit about this group that you do return. Obviously, again, winning a state championship last year, some continuity with that group to this year is a big strong point for your team. But tell us about the team that you do return and how you'll look to them to lead the way this year.
Yeah, we lose the 4A Player of the Year, Hayden Grimes. Those are big shoes to fill, but I think we have a couple others that could be in that Player of the Year conversation for this season. First, Abby McNeil on the outside. She was first team All-State, first team All-State tournament team, first team All-League. Really complimented Hayden last year as really probably the best outside hitter duo in the state. So Abby's been playing varsity for 4 years now. In my opinion, she's probably the hardest hitting outside in 4A. She's looking good in preseason. She'll be ready to go. And then Reagan Winter, she's been playing middle blocker for us. She can also hit left. She can hit right. She had a ton of blocks last year, but also hit over 300. She'll be another one with Player of the Year potential. So those two big seniors leading the way for us, it should make for a very good year.
Absolutely. Now, looking at maybe you got a strong core of upperclassmen. Are there any freshmen, sophomore, underclassmen that you're looking to maybe step into some big shoes as well?
Yeah, we have 11 seniors. We have a junior setter, Riley Winter. She's done an amazing job. She kind of led the way on JV last year. She's already looking good in just the limited number of practices we've had this year. So she'll jump in and be ready to go right from the start. The other player that rounds up the team is a sophomore, Kinley Spexer. She was on the freshman team last year, so we've asked her to make that big jump from the freshman team all the way to the varsity team, but she gets better every time she hits the court. She's another one. Andale's had a history of hard hitting outsides. She's going to be the next one coming up. I think she's a name that most haven't heard of yet, and I think they'll be surprised when they see her play.
With a team that is so senior laden, and then you mentioned having a couple of kids stepping into some bigger roles, how much of a lift can that provide? Because you talk about a sophomore and a junior stepping into much bigger roles with this team, but they have players around them that have been there and done that at that level of, varsity volleyball. Maybe sharing some wisdom or advice on how to handle certain situations or the level of competition that they'll face. Does that make your job easier as a coach when you've got kids like that can maybe coach up the underclassmen?
Oh, absolutely. And it's one where, the underclassmen are asking the upperclassmen questions as well. So they are, I'll say, coaching in a sense, but I think one thing Andale's always done well is the seniors step up into that leadership role. Every year, going into my third year here, but every year it's always questionable. Are we going to have the leadership that we need? And each year those seniors step up and they provide that leadership that we're looking for. And it's almost to the point where us coaches, we don't really worry about it because it's just kind of been the natural tendency. The other thing I'd say we do well is, we throw those younger kids, the underclassmen, into tough situations. We coach them hard. We expect them to play at a high level. We don't hold their hand through the season. I mean, they are challenged, and they step up and they'll contribute to the varsity team.
Looking at your group and the success of last year, I want to go back just for a second because anytime you win state, I ask coaches this, like, when was maybe the first moment you saw this group playing and you're like, this is a team that can get it done. They have the pieces, they have the talent to go win state. Last year, when was maybe that moment for you with your program?
Probably after we beat Bishop Miege at state. We try to play a competitive tournament schedule during the regular season. Going back even further, my first year, we missed out on state. We had a couple injuries at the end of the season, no excuses, but we didn't make it. And so I hadn't been in that state tournament. We don't see some of those teams. We don't see Miege. We don't see Clay Center. We don't see Topeka Hayden during the regular season. And so I wasn't sure. I knew we were good and I knew we had a chance, but I wasn't sure until we got there. We beat Miege and it started to sink in that, okay, we have a chance. And then, watching film after day one and watching the Topeka Hayden games and Clay Center games from day one going into day two, we knew we had a chance. We had good game plans laid out. And the kids executed them perfectly. Even going into the Topeka Hayden game in the championship, we beat them 25-12 set one, and I was like, oh my gosh, we could be state champs. And they turned around and put a whooping on us in set two. We made a great comeback. We lost, but we made a great comeback. But yeah, I thought, oh, maybe we can't win state after being down. I think we were down 12 in set two, but the kids rallied, lost a close set two, and then set three came down to the wire. But yeah, I would say after that Bishop Miege match, we knew we could hang with anybody in the state.
Well, that's such a crazy story. I didn't even realize how competitive that class was. I should have looked back at the teams that you had competed against, but playing teams of that high profile here in the state of Kansas and to take down a Miege and a Hayden and a Clay Center, teams like that, how much fun did you get to enjoy those moments? Because those are obviously high level matches and you're playing in state, which is always such an incredible environment. And you're a coach trying to, stay focused and make sure your team is on point and doing the things they need to do to be successful. But did you get to enjoy that moment in the atmosphere and in the moments of those matches?
Oh, absolutely. And to be perfectly honest, I think myself and the players, we wanted the tough competition. We wanted the big time games. We took kind of just a calm, cool, collective approach into it. I didn't put a lot of pressure on them. I just said, hey, let's play how we've been playing all year. Let's treat it as any other game. And I try and preach like the 1 point at a time mentality. We're not looking for a set win. We're not looking for a match win. We're looking to win the next point. We're looking to touch the next ball good, just simplifying things and breaking them down. And so when we don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves, we have a lot of confidence. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, of course, winning is fun and it's better than the alternative, but yeah, we enjoyed it. We had kind of a locker room party after the end of day one to really celebrate our successes. And I tried to preach that all season long is, we expected to be league champs. We were league champs, but we still celebrated it. I mean, these are accomplishments we can't take for granted. And so we were good about, celebrating the small victories, which led to celebrating the big victories.
Again, we're visiting with Scott Johnson, the head volleyball coach of the Andale Indians. And Coach, I talked to head track coach Tyler Ryan a few months ago after they had won the state title on the track and field side.
Right.
And I asked him, what it was like to be in Andale, which is a school that right now is just breeding success at every turn. I mean, football, basketball, track and field now, and obviously volleyball. What is that like to be a part of that community where there's just this high expectation literally in every sport, and have a community that kind of embraces that and the excellence all around?
It's made it a lot of fun. I think the community's been a big part of our success. Everybody supports Andale sports, and there's culture within a volleyball program, there's culture within a football program, but that culture is largely driven by the community and the expectations they have for the sports teams here at Andale. It's made my job, and I don't know if Coach Ryan said this, but it's made my job that much easier. Kids show up, they're ready to work, they're in the weight room, they're doing conditioning, we watch film outside of practice. The practices are long, they're tough, and the kids are ready for it. They're used to it. They are raised with that expectation that Andale is going to be a competitive place to play sports, and it is. I think the community, like I said, they've been so helpful to me being new here in, just helping out with fundraisers, making the games fun, whether it's like, cardboard cutouts of the players or signs or, team dinners. People have opened their doors to the team and myself. And it's been a great overall experience as a coach here.
I'm sure it's obviously been a blast to be a part of for you in such a short time, but to accomplish so much as well. That has to be just a surreal feeling to be, again, coming off a state title and now prepping for another year here in just a few short days. But to look ahead to this year, and we talked about some of the players that you have. Where's maybe the biggest area your team still needs to develop over the next week or so here as the season really gets going to make sure you're on track with where you want to be at the end of the year?
State's not won in week one. We lost one match last year. I'm not saying we intend on losing more matches this year, but it's not the end of the world if we don't come out hot. We had a jamboree last year. I was not happy with how we played. It was sloppy. And then we turned around and lost one more match and won state. So starting slow is not the end of the world. I think there's plenty of time to get going and get rolling. I will say we loaded up the tournament schedule this year. We go to Miege September 12th, and we're going to play the best teams in 4A there. Eudora's there, Topeka Hayden, Clay Center, Chanute. That'll be a loaded tournament that will challenge us right off the bat. And that's kind of an early season starting point of seeing where we stand and what we need to work on. as of right now, things are looking good. I think consistency is probably what we need the most of. We have talented kids. So just a little bit of consistency throughout the entire game, and then just seeing how things go in these first couple weeks and kind of solidifying a lineup and a roster, lineup specifically. We have kids that can play multiple positions. We have 13 players deep. Everybody on the team can play volleyball and play good. So it's just a matter of finding the right rotations and the right lineups to have success. And it, like I said, admittedly, we didn't have as many scrimmage opportunities over the summer as I would have liked. So the first couple of weeks of the season will just be kind of feeling that out.
Absolutely. And, like you said, you can't lose yourself a state championship basically in that first week, but you can certainly put yourself in the right position to just keep improving. Right. And that's really, I'd imagine, talking to most coaches, that's what they would want, is they're not worried about, 3 months from now as practices begin. They're worried about kind of setting that foundation. And like you mentioned, consistency being kind of that key word. But what to you does consistency look like over this next week or two?
I think what I like to see is just taking chances, but making good errors when you're taking chances. There are such things as good errors, right? We can hit a ball out of bounds by, a foot. We can serve a ball out. We can take risk, right? But what I want to see is avoiding the sloppy plays, letting the ball drop between two people, hitting the ball into the antenna, tipping the ball out of bounds. Those are kind of silly errors, and they're part of volleyball. But I think that's something we did well last year, is we didn't make silly errors. We weren't perfect, but we took risk. We made calculated errors. And so I think that is the biggest focus, is letting them take chances and having errors in practice. But when it comes game time, we need to have taken enough chances in practice that now we're making good errors in game day and not making silly errors. I say it all the time to my team, but so many sets come down to 2 points. I don't want something silly to be the reason that we're not winning one of those sets. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. And you mentioned, serving the ball out of bounds or taking risks. And I always like to ask volleyball coaches a question like this, but there's kind of the philosophy of, serving aggressively, but sometimes that leads to more service errors, be that in the net or maybe too long or what have you. But how do you coach your athletes through that? Because the more aggressive sometimes you serve, the more awkward of a position it puts the opponent, whether that gets them out of system with a weird touch or something else, but it also creates kind of more opportunity for mistakes for a changeover. So like how do you coach your players through maybe the approach of the service game?
I think it starts in practice, right? Because errors in practice are worth 0 points, right? There's no game being played. So I don't mind errors in practice. If you're not making errors in practice, you're not pushing yourself. So for something like the serving game, I'm big on, if you miss long. You're not putting a ball into the net, you're putting the ball out the back end line. That gives the other team a chance to play the ball. Maybe it's going out and they make a play on it and we get an ace or something like that. But if you put a ball into the net, the other team doesn't have to do anything. That's an easy point for the other team. So same thing with our attacking game is if you're putting balls into the net, the other team doesn't have to do anything athletic. I want to force the other team to do athletic things to score. So no easy points is another one of my phrases that I use a lot, is like, if they're going to score, they have to make an athletic play to score. We're not handing them points and helping them drive up their score.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time joining me today to highlight your team and look ahead and look back a little bit too. That's always fun. But again, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck this season.
I appreciate it.
That is Scott Johnson. He's the head volleyball coach of the Andale Indians. We'll take a quick timeout here on 92.3 Preps and be back with more right after this.
I'm always telling him to shake it off, but sometimes we need professional care. Ow! Ow! Thankfully, I know just the place.
AOA Now is your premier orthopedic immediate care for when you need it most. Our expert team specializes in breaks, sprains, and strains. With our new state-of-the-art facility, we'll have you back in action in no time. Visit AOA Now on web and K96 today for fast, specialized orthopedic care where we keep Kansas in motion.
Welcome back into 92.3 Preps. Jackson Schneider, pleased to be joined by head coach of the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles, Chris Jaax. And as we get started with our season previews here, I want to remind you all that our coverage is brought to you by Wichita Federal Credit Union. Whether you're saving for the future, buying your first car, or looking for financial solutions that fit your life, Wichita Federal Credit Union is here to help. Learn more about becoming a member and all they have to offer at wichitafcu.com. Again, joined here by the head coach of the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles. Coach Jaax is joining us on the video feed right now. Coach, thank you so much for making time for us, and welcome to the season. It's back.
Yeah, we're excited. Excited to be on the show, and thanks for covering us.
Absolutely. You guys got off to a fantastic start in your first season last year, 6-4. And I think there was more wins last year than each of the last few years for Bishop Carroll combined. But take me back to last year and just what it was like for you to build the culture of the program kind of in your vision. I know you've had connections to the program in the past, but how did you go about kind of setting the tone and building this program through your vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think that being an alum, obviously Bishop Carroll football is something I cared about a lot. So trying to return it to what it's always been. And historically, it's been such a powerful football team. And it's had a big impact on a lot of kids' lives and coaches' lives. So, yeah, obviously that was something that we had as a major goal. But I think the first thing to start with would probably be the weight room. Obviously trying to make improvement in the weight room. If you're bigger and faster than other teams, or bigger, faster, and stronger than other teams, you're gonna have success. So that was definitely something last year we made a big investment in, and I feel like going into this year, I think has brought a lot of confidence to the kids. I mean, the simple fact is we're bigger and stronger and faster than we were last season, just because of the work the kids have put into those things. But then also just kind of the mentality from the kids too. You know, we want to be a physical running team. And the way we play defense as well is going to be directly tied to that. So just kind of developing that kind of physicality and just playing the game with a level of intensity that I think makes a big difference for a high school football player. So those were things that were really exciting just to see kind of the fruits of those things that we've been working on kind of come to light towards the season as it progressed.
Well, also for this year, you bring back a really solid senior class, a group that's very experienced and helped to produce in big ways for you last season. And obviously, when you're building a program and a culture, that first few years, those guys that are learning this culture and then leading your program as well from within to those values and the ideals that you want has to be kind of the utmost importance to set the tone for the younger guys and the ones that are still learning and growing in your program. Tell us a little bit about this year's senior class and kind of how they've helped to lead so far.
Obviously we have our quarterback, Jonah Mull. He started 2 games for us last year until he got hurt. Jonah's, he's an explosive athlete. He's a great kid. He's a peer minister for our school, which, it's a pretty well respected position, and also has a big place in the spiritual formation of our kids as well. So it's exciting to see, a player like that. I didn't grow up in the culture where people use the phrase QB1, but I hear people use it all the time. So for like our QB1, not only to be somebody that is a big player for us on the field, but is also somebody who has a big impact on the school. I think that's something as a football coach that you feel a lot of a sense of thankfulness for. This is the type of program that you're a part of, and the direction the program is headed for a kid like that to be QB1. So obviously Jonah, though, going into the season, he had a big year when he had opportunities last year, and we expect big things from him this year as well, both running the ball and throwing the ball. And then, Cooper on the offensive side of the ball, Cooper Herman's back as running back. He's legitimately 215 pounds, 6'2". He ran 11.68 in the FAT in the 100-meter dash. So I mean, Cooper was a big player for us last year, but I mean, physically, just the difference between Cooper last year and this year, I think, is pretty incredible. So we're really excited to see what Cooper can do this season. Offensive line-wise, return honestly, it's kind of a unique thing. I don't know if anybody else can really say this, but our overall best athlete might be one of our offensive linemen, our offensive guard, Sean Armbrister. Weight room wise, kid's just a freak. Speed wise, I mean, he's still one of the fastest kids on the team as well. Kid had a 37-inch vertical for us. So he's just a really impressive kid. He's a community coordinator for the St. Dominic Savio community as well. So again, one of the things you see is when you see your better football players and the kids that are leaders on the team who are also taking leadership roles in the school, I think that's something that's exciting to see. But we return a good amount of firepower on the offense, and I think everybody's really excited about. And then defensively, Mitchell Frank, he was our leading tackle for loss player last year. He's a high motor kid that makes plays on the football field. So Mitchell's back, and he's a lot bigger than he was last year, and he's a lot stronger than he was last year, and he's been quite a headache for the offense this summer. So excited to see what Mitchell does this season. Cole Steven, he's a freshman that started for us last year, second leading tackler on the team as a freshman. And he is, he's 20 pounds heavier than he was last year, and he looks really good in the weight room too. So we're really excited to see what Cole can do this year. I mean, as a freshman, nothing was really expected of him. He just kept making plays when he was on the field and kept earning opportunities to get on the field until he was eventually named a starter, which he was game 2. But we're excited to see what he can do. And then the secondary, Sam Eisman, he's another returner for us. He was our third leading tackler last year. And he's just, he's a player that can get out there and he's not the biggest kid. But he's a kid that makes plays.
Well, looking at, hearing that, like I was never the biggest kid. And so I like to hear about those kids that just have that little extra drive to them. You talk about, football lore, guys like Rudy, right? They work harder. They're a little bit hungrier. And it seems like those kinds of guys can truly be the tone setter for teams, and especially a team like yours that prides itself on its defense and its toughness. And in your notes you had sent me, one of the last things I read was 11 hats to the football. And it feels like guys who bring energy like that kind of foster the rest of the mentality on guys finishing plays and getting through the ball. How do you go about creating that sort of mindset and hunger 11 guys deep, 15 guys deep even?
I mean, from a practice perspective, I think there's really there's 3 major ways in which we probably try to go about it. From a practice perspective, we do some pretty competitive periods. Like, we don't do a ton of competitive periods, but we do some pretty competitive periods where, offense versus defense and winner take all type thing. So that's, we talk a lot about the ability for us to compete against each other offensively and defensively. A good example of that would be just this week. Just this week, you have one day of practice where the offense has a really good kind of day, and then the next day the defense comes back and has a really good day. So the one is that competitiveness, and also just the willingness to have some, I don't know, a better way to put it, some contact within those competitive drills for our kids.
Oh, I'm sorry, Coach. Go ahead. My bad.
And the weight room, I think, our kids, the expectation is they're going to work pretty hard in the weight room. That builds pretty much toughness. I mean, when you're squatting 405 pounds, that puts your body under a lot of pressure. So it gets you more acclimated to, just playing physical football. And then just energy with our kids and their leadership.
With the way that high school sports or high school football specifically are anymore, it feels like coaches find it tougher and tougher to hit in practice, I guess, for lack of a better term, because obviously you want to protect your kids and you want to keep them healthy and make sure they're in the best physical form for Friday nights. But at the same time, sometimes that makes defense a little bit tougher because it's harder to, work on certain things or be a little bit more physical and build that toughness up. And then also just, simply making tackles is sometimes not always like first nature with that. How do you balance kind of that challenge of wanting your team to be physical and have some contact during the practice week, but also not overloading it to where kids are getting beat up in practice and not having enough energy or health on Friday nights?
I think there's a lot of different levels to that. I think first off that comes to mind, simply enough, is like one of the things that's different from when I played and now is that we do a little bit more stuff in the summer than we did back in the day when I was a kid. And so doing more stuff in the summer leads to a little bit more of like a balance installation wise. I mean, I'm all for having kids be balanced with playing multiple sports. And we have a lot of kids that play multiple sports. We have a lot of baseball players. We have a lot of basketball players. We have a lot of wrestlers on our team. But at the same point in time, we have opportunities to work with kids in the summer. So that gets a little bit farther ahead in terms of installation of things. So when we get to like fall camp, we don't need to spend quite as much time just trying to make sure we know what we're doing offensively and defensively. Obviously, there's a lot of things we got to get better at. But at the same point in time, we don't need to spend as much time with that. So it's, part of that is we can be a little bit more, we can cut back a little bit more on practice times. And so that's one way to kind of keep your kids a little bit more healthier when it comes to being physical. So I think that it's a balance there. I coach track and field as well. And one of the things I talk to our kids about when it comes to conditioning and getting ready for games is with, we have a kid that qualifies for state in the 400. And I ask him, I'm like, how many hard workouts do you do during your track season? And the answer is going to be one. He does one, or not season, during a week. And the answer is going to be one. He does one really hard workout during the week, but then the rest of the workouts are either recovery or they're going to be speed development or things like that. One of the things I've learned, just coaching and coaching other sports as well is that to get kids to play at their best, you have to put them in situations where they're challenged, but at the same point in time, you can only challenge them so many times you have to give their bodies plenty of time to recover and things like that. So,
yeah.
Another thing too is for us is like, I'll be honest, football's football. And so I do try to make sure that our kids know that they're going to have opportunities to actually play football. So like last Friday, it's our first day that Keisha lets you go live, and we do a little bit of a live scrimmage then. So we tackle to the ground and all that. And that's one of the things I talk to our kids about a little bit is we didn't take a ton of reps, but we did take some live reps where they're tackling to the ground. And I talked to them about, the courage that takes and the way in which that you go about doing that. But we also try to limit the amount of total reps that they take. And then on top of that, the way in which, we just go about teaching things helps with it too. So the way we teach tackling. One of the things from our scrimmage that was most interesting to me was last year, it was a competitive scrimmage between offense and defense, but last year the offense had more explosive plays, and I would say the biggest difference between this year's scrimmage and last year's scrimmage was the effectiveness with which we tackled. I mean, I know Cooper Herman's harder to tackle this year, but we had guys tackling him, and so I know that's the way we're teaching tackling is helping the kids understand the game better.
Again, we're visiting with the head football coach of the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles in Chris Jaax. And Coach, you and your team will open up the season in just a little bit more than a week. It's going to be here quickly. And the first test is a big one. It's Wichita Northwest, a team that's been a very consistent player in the City League for a long time. And a team I know you have a lot of respect for, and a coach I know you have a lot of respect for in Steve Martin. But opening the year, and you did the same last year against a program like that, creates a lot of challenges because you're still learning, the team is still learning, but they're kind of in the same boat. Tell me a little bit about kind of what hangs in the balance when you play a game of that level right off the bat.
Obviously it's something the kids get excited for. For Bishop Carroll, a lot of people make a big deal about the rivalry between Bishop Carroll and Capon and the excitement that game brings. But in terms of both those games, Bishop Carroll versus Capon and Bishop Carroll versus Northwest are going to be at our stadium. And I bet you can't really tell much of a difference between the energy level in the stadium between those two games. So I guess that's just one of the ways to understand that this Northwest game it's an exciting game for our school and our community. I think it's something that people look forward to a lot. I think they look forward to because they know how good of a team Northwest is and how much of a challenge it is for us, and gives us a kind of an understanding of where we're at. Probably the biggest thing for us getting ready for a game like that is just a recognition that the kids, we got to get better. We're not going to be able to start with a game where we can turn the ball over 3 times and give up 5 explosive plays and be able to figure out a way probably to win the game still because they're too good of a team. So it just makes sure that we know we have to be playing at a higher level than maybe you would have to normally at game 1 to get a win because you're playing against one of the best teams in the state of Kansas. Additionally, too, I think it's exciting for our kids. They know if they play well against Northwest that they're a good football team, And if we were to fall short on Friday versus Northwest, I think they also know that Northwest is a good football team that challenges us and gives us some understanding where we can get better.
Well, also, with you being an alum, you're obviously extremely familiar with not only Bishop Carroll, but all these City League schools and the rivalry and the level of play within the league as a whole. And over the last several years, there's been several consistent players within the City League. How much fun is it now to be back and leading a program within that conference and just playing and coaching in high level games practically every week?
Oh, it's just it's a real blessing for me. I think it's a lot of fun. Just being a part of Bishop Carroll football is a really special thing. Coaching the kids we have, they're great kids. They're going to work hard. They're going to play their tails off, and we just got a lot of really talented athletes on our team as well. And then just the coaches that we have on staff is really exciting. We've just got people that are really smart and gifted and care a lot about kids and are very passionate about football as well. So those things are just it's something really exciting to be the head coach in that situation. And then in terms of us competing for the City League championship, that's where our goal is. Compete at the championship level, compete at the City League championship level, and compete at the state championship level. And I think that's something that's really exciting. And I don't know, as a coach, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, and on that, like I said, just a little bit more than a week to continue preparations, cleaning a few things up for that first big game against Wichita Northwest, which, of course, I'm super excited for. We're going to be there on site for our game of the week. But as you prepare, what's maybe the biggest thing you want your group to clean up or work on a little bit further before the game kicks off?
Based off of the practices we've had and scrimmages we've had and things like that, offensively, we need to limit turnovers. Game 1s that's such a big thing for game 1 is if, mistakes that you make that lead to turnovers. So trying to make sure our kids are confident in what they're executing on offense. They don't feel that they have to go beyond what they're basically asked for to make plays. They have the ability to make plays. They do what they're coached, and that'll put them in better situations to where they won't make a mistake that might lead to a turnover. And then defensively, making sure we don't have any major defensive breakdowns that could lead to explosive plays. To me, those are two of the things that determine games is turnovers and explosive plays, and then obviously red zone efficiency. So that's the other thing that probably I would say is us being able to – last year when we played Northwest, we had in the first half we had 3 drives that got to the red zone and we got 1 touchdown out of it. So that's a 14-point swing right there that makes a pretty big difference in the first half of a football game. So red zone efficiency and taking advantage of the opportunities we have.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I'm super excited to see you guys kick off next week. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and kind of give us the lowdown on your group right now. But we'll check again soon and hopefully catch you plenty more throughout the rest of the season.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Of course, that's Chris Jaax. He's the head football coach of the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles. This interview on 92.3 Preps, again, is brought to you by Wichita Federal Credit Union. You can learn more about becoming a member and all they have to offer at wichitafcu.com. We'll take a quick break here on our show and be back with more right after this.
I'm always telling him to shake it off, but sometimes we need professional care. Ow! Thankfully, I know just the place.
AOA Now is your premier orthopedic immediate care for when you need it most. Our expert team specializes in breaks, sprains, and strains. With our new state-of-the-art facility, we'll have you back in action in no time. Visit AOA Now on web and K96 today for fast, specialized orthopedic care where we keep Kansas in motion.
Final segment of 92.3 Preps today here on the ESPN Wichita family of networks. Of course, we are on our YouTube page where you can see my ugly mug as well as our great guests with every interview on the video broadcast. You can also check us out on Spotify or at espnwichita.com or on the ESPN Wichita app. We are everywhere for you, making it as convenient as possible for you to check out our show every week. And again, our show is brought to you by the great people at Wichita Federal Credit Union. Whether you're saving for the future, buying your first car, or looking for financial solutions that fit your life, Wichita Federal Credit Union is here to help. Learn more about becoming a member and all they have to offer at wichitafcu.com. As we get you ready for the weekend and for the high school sports season that is officially about to kick off in a matter of days, I want to give you a little more information. Again, our game of the week this year on ESPN Wichita. It is going to be video broadcast on a plethora of locations, but we are partnering with 810 Varsity, the NFHS network, and some local schools to bring you a video broadcast along with our radio each and every week. And again, we get underway this coming Friday on September the 4th at Bishop Carroll High School as they host the Wichita Northwest Grizzlies. And of course, you heard from the Northwest head coach and Steve Martin, his athletes, Zyair, Burton, and Maddox, McGinnis. And then a great discussion as well with Chris Jaax to kind of preview the season along with that matchup. So very, very excited for that. So be on the lookout for where to watch our broadcast, because there will not be a radio broadcast the first 2 weeks because KU football plays on Friday nights, their first 2 games of the season. So that kind of forces us to shuffle things around, but we will have coverage of those games on the video side on our YouTube page as well. So be on the lookout for those links in the coming days, but also be on the lookout for the future locations, because some of them may move. Some of those broadcasts will be hosted by school YouTube pages. Some of them will be on the NFHS network. We're going to try and get all of those things streamlined to one spot so it's easier for you to find, but that's a little touch and go with this project as we're just getting it started. So bear with me, but again, stay tuned to our social medias at ESPN Wichita on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok and YouTube and LinkedIn even. Like, we are literally everywhere we could possibly be, I think. So stay tuned to all those social medias. We'll be posting more information with links to the broadcast, but we are so excited to get things going. I'm going to be joined by a couple of great people on the crew, and I'm super psyched, but also want to give, again, shout outs to the coaches that I previously mentioned at Northwest and at Bishop Carroll, but also a big thank you as we wrap up our show to Scott Johnson. Fantastic interview. Great program there at Andale with his volleyball team. We'll be following along all season, and we'll have hopefully some more opportunities to bring them all back for our show and some other things that we're working on for our high school sports coverage this season. Of course, in the past, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with our Athlete of the Week. That has taken off. It has been a tremendous success in terms of the support that we get with the interviews that we do with student athletes that are doing some special things. And so we thought that's not enough. We need to add some more. So I'm going to be doing some more work here in the high school realm with team-centric honors each week. So we're going to focus on some athletes. We're going to focus on some teams. Of course, we're going to have our game of the week, and we're going to have this podcasts. Some of those things may all morph into just being a part of this podcast, but we will break them out and we'll make them easily accessible in many ways and post them on our social media. So I'm very excited about that. So again, if you're not following our socials, better get on it, because you're going to miss out on some fun stuff here in the very near future. I'm proud to be a part of ESPN Wichita and proud to be spearheading the high school sports coverage, because again, as I've said on our show before, I feel like it is an underserved area of a very important part of our community, and I'm proud to be leading the charge and doing some things in high school sports that no other media organization is doing right now. And I don't mean that to throw shade. I'm just saying we are bringing you as much as we possibly can. And I'm only one man, but I'm working hard to get you all the content and all the interviews and all the fun features that we possibly can. So hop on board. It's going to be a fun ride. And we're super glad that you're here and tuning in each week. But that's going to wrap up our show for today. Again, Thank you to all our guests, all our viewers. We're going to take a bit of a break on our show next week on the podcast, and we're going to start shifting to earlier in the week. We're going to get through this first week of high school football before our next show, and then we're going to do some recap things. So it'll be a few days since between now and our next show. It'll be a little bit longer than normal, but I promise you it's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. I'm Jackson Schneider. This has been the 92.3 Preps podcast here on ESPN Wichita.